And we're on. Hello, welcome to podcast episode 128 of Rope-a-Dope Boxing. The two Daves are back for a review of the weekend's boxing. Funny enough, we're doing this, I don't say funny enough, we're doing this on a Monday morning, which is rare for us. Dave's got the day off of work and I'm off anyway. It was Father's Day at the weekend. Dave's had his birthday. Obviously, we have our little chinwags, as we normally do. We'll crack onto our wild shites of the weekend. Obviously, for regular listeners and viewers, know that we'd like to talk a lot about alcohol. So there's going to be a lot of alcohol involved in today's episode. A lot of boxing as well to talk about, to get stuck into. And we haven't done a lot of David McDonald for a long time. So we've got lots of news to get cracking into and all sorts. It's going to be a bit of a bumper episode to start your weekend off, to start your week off, should I say. So before I ask Dave about how he is, how his birthday went, and all things alcohol, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If not via YouTube, yep, along the bottom, Dave's doing his finger wagging as usual. Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, you know where to find us, guys. Just fucking subscribe. So, Monday morning, are you fresh as a daisy, Dave? How was your birthday? What's going on, brother?
Thanks, mate. No, I'm still feeling a little bit of it. Maybe being 42, that's what it's going to be like now. But no, I went out on Friday, met Lee Harper, friend of the show, doesn't listen. He came to the pub near my work. So he met a few of my workmates and whatnot. So he only stayed for a bit. Had a couple of pints with him. Stayed out till about 11. Oh, sorry, my voice went. Stayed out till about 11. Come out. It took me an hour and a half to get home. I got to walk to the station and all the trains were cancelled.
Yeah.
So I had to fuck about. So it took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get home. And then I was out again Saturday, which was my actual birthday.
Sorry, just to interrupt. Were they really cancelled?
Yeah.
Or was it just that? Well, I'll have another one. I'll tell her.
I wish I would have known, because I probably would have stayed. But I walked 25 minutes to the station to find that when I got there to see all the trains are cancelled. Tried to get an Uber. When I see the fact that it does, it searches. I couldn't get a driver, so I cancelled that. Got a bus to Fulham Broadway, and then fucked about. So yeah, all in all, it took me about nearly 2 hours to get home. So I left the pub just gone 10. I never go home until 12:30. Brilliant. And then I was back in the pub at 3 o'clock on my actual birthday, which was Saturday, with Stace, and stayed there till closing. And Father's Day, had a barbecue.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been an eventful weekend, but I got today booked off. Stacey was saying to me, book it off in the week, and
just in case.
Yeah, and you know what? Now that it's happened, it was the best thing she'd ever told me to do, because I just didn't want to go to work today.
No,
not feeling it at all. But yeah, heavy weekend, man. And like I say, the older you get, it just catches up with you. But yeah, I still feel a little bit ropey today. And I didn't have a drink yesterday, so that just says it all about the amount of alcohol that I was doing. I was doing shots and all sorts of stuff. Oh,
you can still do them. You can still do the shots. You can still do the 20 pints, whatever. But we feel it more now with 42 rather than 22.
It takes a few days. I was given a shot. Never done this before. So it was a tequila in one shot glass and pineapple juice in the other. Right.
Okay.
Now, so put the tequila in your mouth, then put the pineapple juice straight in and swallow it together, and you don't get no taste of tequila. The pineapple cancels out the tequila. I never knew this. The pineapple cancels out, so it's literally just like when you drink it, when you swallow it, you don't get taste of either. It's like drinking water. Now that's dangerous if like for the fact you can't taste it, because usually tasting the tequila would mean that you wouldn't, you'll only have a couple because you fucking end up spewing up. But if you're going to cancel the taste out, that's dangerous. You know what I mean? Because you'd end up doing a load of them and thinking, I can't taste it, which means you're thinking, I can't feel it. But then your next thing, you're on your fucking arse.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the sound of that. I don't mind the taste of tequila, actually. Maybe one of the rare ones, but they're strong as fuck. But yeah, that's a one I've never heard of. That's a good method if you want to have more, but dangerous at the same time, isn't it? Jesus.
Yeah, it's mega dangerous. So I've had a few shots that week. Yes, it's been chaos. But it was a nice birthday, 42 years old now. On to the next one. And yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, good weekend, mate. What about you? I see your picture of your significant other, absolutely blotto yesterday. She enjoyed Father's Day by the looks of things.
Well, I was off my normal working pattern. My lads got 3 football presentations. This was the first one, the whole club one, where you have to clap. We have to clap for every player for all different teams. You're like a performing seal doing that for everyone. So he had that. Went to my mum and dad's. Just literally, I felt a bit guilty really, because I was egging myself. I was like, kind of like, shall we go? Shall we go? I wanted to get to the Stourbridge Football Club and have a pint. So I showed my face. My dad's birthday as well today. Happy birthday, Dad. He's 81. Dropped his presents off, etc. Went down Stourbridge Football Club as you do. Father's Day. That's the only present I asked for. Normally they buy you things that they don't really want, and it adds up to silly amount for a commercial day. I'm not really into that. So just take me down to Stourbridge Football Club. Let's have a few beers, a takeaway, whatever.
Yeah.
So I went down there. A lot of the football team joined us. So when the beer's flowing, the sun's out, the conversation's fantastic, and we're all having a good time. Beck weren't driving, so she had a few drinks. But you mentioned about the tequilas there, mate. As you know, when you're talking and people are buying drinks, and then you're putting drinks in front of you, and you thought, I've got another one. I've got another one. She had about mini bottles of Prosecco, and she'd had about 4 or 5 previous. So come on, people saying, come on, Beck, get them down, yeah. And I was going to say, as you do, as you do, you'd probably neck them. She don't normally neck them. She necked 3 of these small bottles, right?
Oh,
right as rain. Next week, gone. I've got to be careful what I'm saying because she's upstairs hungover. So and this is going out live worldwide. She'll bloody kill me. But as you said there, mate, in your opening gambit, she's still in bed. She was hungover. She doesn't do hangovers. She's normally gets pissed, goes to work, goes to the gym, but she's having the day off. It's 10 o'clock now. Normally she should have put the wash on, been to the gym, had a bath, go out and do all sorts. It's just within 3 or 4 hours. Now, man, she's suffering today. So, yeah, I for once behaved myself. I had quite a lot to drink, but I suppose I was being the responsible parent. It's normally Beck that's the responsible parent. But yeah, I had about 8 or 9 parades, but I kind of spaced them out, throughout the afternoon. But yeah,
strong as well, man. You're good at that because you drink the strong stuff, and I sesh on the weak stuff. But parades, I'd have been like Beck's if I'd have had 9 of them. Yeah,
got home. Got an Uber. She was, chucking up and sort of thing I normally do. But that's again, you look back on things like this. Do you remember that night? Do you remember this night? It's part of our culture. It is for anybody that's not from the UK. It's part of our culture. Going out, getting pissed, being sick, and doing it all over again. Now that sounds like a nightmare to some people. I'm never doing that. Why would you want to put the alcohol in your poison your body and think? No, man, it's what we do, and it's probably this time next week it'll be exactly the same.
Well, that's it. Like even today,
presentation next week.
So. Even today, like, oh god, I could do without it. But come Thursday, Friday, after you've been working all week, you just go back. You forget about how you felt the weekend before and just do the same thing again. It's just always the way.
Do you know when you see those memes and those gifs and on Instagram and Twitter and things like that about having that first pint after work, and you see it's ice cold, whether it be lager, Guinness, whatever, it's short. It kind of wets you, it gets cool. I can't wait to have one of them. You have one and that's it. You're off, a bit like a junkie, really. Hasn't had drugs for a week. You're back on it. But yeah, man. Happy Father's Day to me and you. So, let's talk a bit of boxing then. Now, shall I jump in with the prediction, Lee? Because we're not going to do our predictions until we're going to do our predictions Wednesday. Now, they have to be done Wednesday, because Brian Norman Jr. is in action on Thursday over in Japan. So we need to do our predictions. We didn't do an episode last Thursday like we promised because StreamYard, which I use for our platform, went down. So I was absolutely fuming. We had a program, a podcast booked, and I thought it was me. The first thing come up that I haven't subscribed to this, and then couldn't get into it on any like my phone, my iPad, my daughter's iPad, the Chromebook, and it was literally down because a friend of mine does Stourbridge Football Club. He had an interview booked in with somebody. He couldn't get on, so I was fuming about that. But it's working today, so we are going to do it on Wednesday. We didn't do predictions for the weekend gone, but we are going to review the action we've seen. But I will jump in with the prediction, Lee, just to know where we are going into Wednesday. So, do you know the results, Dave?
No,
you don't know the results, right? Let's go. So it was 9-9. So it's been very close this year. This is how we want it. This is how it should be competitive. It shouldn't be, 10-1 to Dave or vice versa, like it has been the last couple.
I was going to say, like it has been, yeah.
So going into Wednesday's episode, I will update you where we are. So 9-9, as I said. So the last ones we did review and preview were Josh Kelly versus his Romanian opponent, Bia, whatever it was worth. So I went for Kelly on points, so that was 1 point for me. And Dave went for Josh Kelly for KO in round 5. So he got the 3 points. Obviously, he got his job, he got his work done in the first round. Wardley versus Hooney. We both went for Fabio by KO. I went 5. Dave went 9. Fabio done it in 8. Was it 8 or 10, Dave?
10.
10, wasn't it? So that's 3 points there. Simpson versus Zuko. We both went for Callum Simpson on points. So there was a point apiece there. Abdullah Mason versus Nakatila. Both went for the KO. I went for 2. Dave went for 3. Mason done it in 5. So that's 3 points there. Opataya versus Squello. Again, both went for Opataya by knockout. I went for 5. Dave went for 2, which means I got a full house there. So that's 6 points for me. And Nakatani versus Nishida. We both went for Junto by knockouts. Dave went for round 10. I went for round 8. He done it in 6, which made the scores, if you're following Dave, on the doors. David Holland 16. David Graham 17.
Oh.
Going into Thursday, next weekend, should I say?
Oh.
David Holland 9, David Graham 10. So that Jai Opataya 6-pointer won me that weekend, mate. Just incidentally, obviously we're going to speak about the fights now as well. Going through, there was a couple I would have gone the right way. I know hindsight's a wonderful thing, but not the result. Do you know what I mean? So say one was a knockout, I would have probably gone for points rather than But yeah, so 10-9 going into next week, mate. That's how it should be. It should be close.
It was close. That was good. That was it was close. I'd like to be on the other end of that, the winning end. But such is life. I'll claw it back this week.
Hopefully. I said there's not a lot going on next week. I think you've got Galal Yafai, he's out. So there's not a huge amount going into next week. But let's talk about what we saw this weekend, mate. For the masses listening, George Kambosos Jr. went over to the MSG New York to take on Richardson Hitchins for the Richardson Hitchins first defense of his IBF super lightweight belt. Watched the build up all week. They're going at each other. George Kambosos, mate, he's a funny character because he's turned into a bit like Caleb Plant. I know there's going to be a lot of other things we're going to say about him. He's turned into Caleb Plant. Whenever he goes into a fight with whoever it is, wherever it is, he always seems to cause arguments. But I like that. I like beef. That's how it should be. Not too much OTT, but you're going into war against somebody. I don't like to see handshaking and cuddling. I like to see that after. I like to see what Derek Chisora does after with a Five Guys burger and enjoy each other's company, shaking out. I love all that after, not before. So I kind of like what he does, Kambosos Jr. But I've written on the banners there, guys, for anybody listening. Where is Kambosos out now? Where is he in his career, should I say? We'll talk about Hitchins in a minute because that was quite clear from what we watched on Saturday that there's levels between these two. And when I speak about levels, mate, George Kambosos now we've spoke about this before, he's got the best management team in world boxing because he gets world title fights, big money fights, headlining fights based off crap performances or because of his name. He won the title, the unified titles a few years ago against Teofimo Lopez. Is he dining off that? Possibly. He's lost his last 3 and 5 or 4 and 6, something like that, against good names, but he's losing them. But when you watch him fight, mate, he's kind of winging it. I don't mean to be disrespectful because he does and I don't. Game plans, different tactics, A game, B game, C game. There's nothing there. All he does is kind of just walks forward and throws hooks. It doesn't seem to be anything different to any of the fights that he fights. There's no kind of game plan. There's no blueprint. And what I mean by that, mate, is on Saturday, we saw Richardson Hitchins put on I would say masterclass, but it turned out so easy for him. Hitchins was a back foot fighter. He used to be in his last 2 performances now. When he beat Paro, he was fighting on the back foot, very good, then got comfortable, going on the inside, and throwing lots of combination shots, very confident. On Saturday, we saw a front-footed fighter in George Kambosos Jr., not push back Richardson Hitchins. Now, when I said about blueprint there, when you go back to the who was Gustavo Lemos fight, which was a hard fight for Richardson Hitchins, he's a front-footed fighter that pushes forward, and that's exactly what he done. I will push you back. I will push Hitchins back, right, and I will throw shots to land on you and give him problems. And he did give him problems. Yes, Hitchins won the fight, but a lot of people said, well, we could have got a draw there. He got caught more than normal. Kambosos just walks forward, throws hooks, does nothing, and then a back-footed fighter like Hitchins pushes him back. It was a very bizarre kind of performance. When we was doing if we'd have done our preview, mate, I wouldn't have gone for a knockout. I thought George Kambosos is for whatever you think of him, he's tough, he's durable, he's game, he always wants to fight. He's a little, he goes to war. But I just think now, mate, he's not a world level fighter. He's just not. His levels below what we're seeing, and I think. Before I let you come in, when I said that is he dining off that Teofimo Lopez victory, I think that's what's holding him up, because he shouldn't be anywhere near this level of opponent. We saw him against Jake Wiley in his last fight. What was Jake Wiley, Dave? Ranked 300 something in the world,
Yeah.
and it was closer than it should have been.
Yeah.
So going forward with him, mate, I'm not sure where he goes or what he does. He'll probably get another world title fight, which I disagree with, but up to you where you want to start with mate. But I thought Richardson Hitchins was fantastic at the weekend, and he kind of done what I expected by the knockout, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right, mate. You're right. And the thing is he's more like he's become an opponent now, and it is the fact that he's dined off of the Teofimo Lopez win, because that, you know, listen, you can't take away from what he done in that fight. Listen, he won the fight. He dropped the Teofimo, and fair play. Listen, he got his shot and he took it. It was, you know, but ever since then, I feel like he's been found out about more or less every opponent he's been in with. The reason he gets this work is because, one, he has that. You know, he was unified champion, so they can never take that away from him. But he also was game, and he'd make a fight of it. So, you know, he wouldn't be in the shit fight. But what's happened to him now? I feel that's sort of been knocked out of him as well. Because yes, he was standing centre of the ring on Saturday night, but he had no output, and he was being tailor-made for Hitchison, a sharp shooter who was just pinpoint accuracy, and he was just too slow. He was waiting too long, and it's getting his head rocked back in the centre of the ring. It was so easy for Richardson Hitchins, and now there's a blueprint there as well, because Loma took him apart to the body.
Yeah.
So anyone he goes in there now with, his body he's been softened up. So he's, you know, there's a blueprint for him to be beat. But I'm with you. He's been found out where his actual level is. Listen, he's a tough man. He is, you know, he's game, and fair enough. Listen, he's a world champion in his own right. He took the chance that was given to him, and fair play. But he's been found out when it comes to levels. You said it there. You know, Lomachenko took him apart. Haney beat him twice. Richardson Hitchins is now taken to school. But
he lost to Maxie Hughes, really, Dave. He
lost. Yeah, he did lose to Maxie Hughes. He did. And so there's been a lot of performances like that. I don't want to see him in another world title fight.
Didn't deserve it.
No, he didn't. He hasn't deserved it in any of the other ones. Where you talk about like getting things on merit. Yes, I mean, all right. You might get one or two with him. You know, being a unified champion, he's a name, whatnot. But it shouldn't be that way. But that's boxing politics for you. But like I say, he's had like four or five losses, and he's got world title shots off the back of that. And then I know we always talk about Jack Catchell, because that's always the one. But how can that be right? When people are hanging around for years trying to get their shots. But anyway, that's for another day when it comes to boxing politics and the wild west. But I honestly, I don't know where George Kambosos goes from here, because, you know, he's been at the top table against the top guys in the division, and he's come up short, and he's come up well short. Let's get it right. He hasn't been competitive in any of these fights. Listen, yes, he's game. He was
beat up Saturday, Dave, wasn't he? He was beat up and stopped.
But like I say, you had it right there. There's no tactics in what he does. Listen, I mean, the thing is, if he wants to make a fight of it, then he needs output. But because he gets exposed if he's going to stand centre of the ring, be a tough guy, but not throw enough shots and just get his head picked off, which is what Richard needs to do.
This is going to sound really weird, and for people listening, his arms. Do you think his arms are too short? Now that sounds really weird, because he's got like T-Rex arms. When he throws those hooks, he doesn't really use the jab. He doesn't extend his arms. He throws a lot of hooks. So as he's throwing those hooks with quite short arms, they're kind of not going anywhere near the target. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but the thing is, and you're right. But his tactics? I don't know what his tactics were, but for someone like him, he needs to have Richardson Hitchins back on the ropes.
And like Lemos did.
Yeah, to get leverage in his punches to actually land. He can't stand centre of the ring and try and box. He's never done that. He's always been a fighter more than a boxer. You know, so he pull you into a fight. So especially with these type of guys, your Hitchinsons and all these slick guys, who yes, they can box on the back foot, but you want to be on their chest, making things uncomfortable for them. He didn't do that. He sort of just stood centre of the ring and got his head picked off with a lovely crisp jab. And listen, I'm not going to take anything away from Richardson Hitchins. Richardson looked good, but I think a lot of it had to do with the way that the tactics from Kambosos.
Definitely,
now, I mean, like I say, again, you can't take anything away from Richardson Hitchins, because he done exactly what he should do. But like I say, if Kambosos makes more of a fight of that, then, you know, that type of situation where he's getting just boxed, his head boxed off. Doesn't happen. But for me, he didn't. Do you know what I say? I think he's been in too many hard fights now, Kambosos, and I think that. I don't want to say he grew old overnight, but I don't think he had the legs in him to try and push a pace that could make Richardson Hitchins uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Where he's, the way he's stalking him, and trying to push him back and making him box on the back foot. So it was all wrong for him. But I don't know where he goes now. Like I say, he's nowhere near that level. So what is his level? And like you said there, Jake Wiley was an unknown and who gave him hell. So it's where he wants to. If he thinks, obviously because he's been world champion, if he thinks that that's where he should be, then that's a difficult one because, like I say, you can clearly see that he's not. So it's the fact that and we say dined off. The fact that he's dined off of being a unified world champion, will he wanna have the desire to drop a level? That's one for only he can answer that. But he can't be in any more world title fights. Not for me anyway. I think he's had enough chances and he's been nowhere near in any of them fights against these guys. So for me, I don't know where he goes, mate. I really don't.
He's giving me gatekeeper vibes now.
Yeah, he could be that. Yeah, he could be that. But he's sort of been that, but in world title fight, if you know what I mean. Everyone, all the world champions that have fought him off the back of that. He's been a world champion and he's a tough night's work. So people, when they announce the fight, the fans can get up for it because think, oh well, it's it's not going to be a shit fight. But I think he's had the stuffing knocked out of him when it comes to that now. When it comes to these type of fights, so gatekeeper is probably it. It's just whether he's got the desire to be one.
Yeah, I agree. It's exactly the same. If not, do headlines and shows in Australia. I mean, I think Eddie was trying to do the Liam Parrow, George Kambosos Jr. thing until kind of Liam Parrow fucked up against Richardson Hitchins, and obviously now Hitchins has gone on and beat Kambosos. But you can still have that in Australia. That's still a draw. It's two names in their own backyard, and headline shows. When Nikita Zoo's fighting, and if Sky Nicholson's back, at home, things like that against a certain level of opponent. But. Yeah, he never turns down fights, but he's just lacking. He's just lacking a level against these better fighters. And obviously, before we move on to a bit of the undercard, Richardson Hitchins, mate, a champion now. First defense looked very, very good. Stopping George Kambosos Jr. when Hitchins isn't a puncher, like he said there. Maybe there was elements of that fight where Kambosos made him look good. Yeah. Because he's a back-footed fighter. It's very hard to land on normally. But we've got in the division, we've got Gary Antoine Russell, another champion. I can't see that fight being made because he's a PBC fighter, which means Eddie's got to work with Uncle Al, and Al Heyman will demand probably 90 to 10 of the purse. So that ain't happening as a voluntary. Puello, the other champion's in against Mateus, which is coming up soon. That'd be a very, very good fight. Again, another PBC fighter. So that leaves Teofimo Lopez, mate. Yeah. Which, for me, going forward with Richardson Hitchins, you know what I'm like on here about meritocracy and putting the best versus the best. That's the fight to make next for me. Hitchins versus Teofimo Lopez, unifying the division,
Yeah, I'm all for that, mate. And I think they've had a bit of back and forth before as well, isn't there? So there's a little bit of a narrative there. No, that'd be a great fight. And then these are the sort of fights that Teo gets up for. We always talk about him, being able to, but he would get up for this type of fight.
That's when you see the best version of Teo. You're right, man.
Yeah, you do. And hopefully that will get announced, and that'd be a great fight. Yeah, I would look forward to that. There's stuff today. I haven't put it in the news because I've just done the news for what we were going to do on Thursday, so I'll do more news for the current week on Wednesday. A couple of bits and pieces, but there is back and forth with Hitchins and Eddie Hearn because he sort of after the fight said he's a free agent now and all that.
What Hitchins is?
That's what he said. So Eddie Hearn's going mad about it. So there's a bit of back and forth. There's been interviews with Eddie Hearn, and he's like kicking off about what Hitchison said and stuff like that. So there's a bit. It will all come out by Wednesday. There should more of it come out in the wash. So I'll have a bit more news on that. But I think he's got a bit of a big mouth, hasn't he, Richard Hitchins? Yeah.
As long as he doesn't go down the Keyshawn Davis route.
Don't.
So right. Let's have a look at the what has happened on the undercard. Ernesto Mercado fight was pulled off. There was another one pulled out as well. Injuries and all sorts of things. But Andy Cruz was the co-main on Saturday night, mate. He took on Japan's Hironori Mishito, sorry. This was the final eliminator for to fight Raymond Moratella for the £135. Couldn't give a shit about the belts, to be honest, because obviously when we speak about, I've said this before, since the Pacquiao announcement, anything can be made in the division. But if you're going to go by the rules, Andy Cruz now is the mandatory challenger for Raymond Moratella. 6-0 now, 5th round stoppage from Cruz. Look, he was my prospect of the year last year. I think the activity's been not enough from him, but when he is fighting once or twice a year, wherever he is since he turned pro, he hasn't put a foot wrong. But I put on the banner there, guys, impressive from Cruz, which he was. He won every second of every round. Got a stoppage as well, looking good. Be careful. Be very, very careful. Now, this Japanese guy, Dave, hadn't seen him fight before, looked at his record, never been stopped. Tough as they come. We spoke when we had Liam on the show last week. We spoke about Japanese style of fighting, coming forward, always in wars. I mean, he barely laid a glove on Andy Cruz. But in the 3rd round, as Andy Cruz was getting into the rhythm, throwing lots of shots, quick hand speed, spiteful, nice feet, does everything correct. He got a little bit greedy, and the Japanese kid landed an uppercut. Now, it caught Cruz clean on the chin. And even the commentators went, got to be careful there. When fighters take a step back, and then they shake their head to say no, they felt it. Yeah. They felt it. Every fighter will tell you that. When they say no, that means he felt something then. Yeah. Andy Cruz, how much I love him, and I kind of like what Bozy Ennis is doing with him at the moment. He's turning him into a puncher as well as an elite skills craftsman, if you like. Does everything right when it comes to the sweet science. And I've said this on here before, and I will continue to say it again. Even though this was a step up for him, he's going to be fighting fighters that are better than this Japanese kid, i.e. Moratella if it gets made, and fighters that hit harder than this Japanese kid. If that was Raymond Moratella that landed that shot on him on Saturday night in that 3rd round, he's going down. Yeah. Only criticism I have of him, Dave, he gets a little bit greedy because and I don't blame him. He's in the moment. He's planting his feet well. He's able to set the shots up, and everything was accurate. Everything was spiteful on Saturday night, and that's why he got the stoppage. You put the Japanese kid down twice, and it was he got stopped on his feet. Don't get too greedy, because you're going to get clipped, and you're going to get hurt, and you're going to get knocked out. And that's why I've always said, just stay what you're good at. You're not that guy. I think sometimes, Dave, with him, is it a case of he doesn't want to get labelled as a kind of a shaker? Right, you're going to just go cruise to 12 rounds, outpoint your opponent, look brilliant, but not go for the knockout. This is the vibe I get of him. And I think that's why he's gone to Joe Ennis' dad to kind of change his game and improve his game, which looks fantastic. 5-star at the moment. But just be very, very careful, because you're going to come up against guys that your school, and you 9 times out of 10 you'll beat, but when they land, better guys, you're going to get knocked out. Just be very, very careful. But apart from that, you can't take anything away from him. He looks superb again.
Oh, he did. I wanted to mention the Japanese guy, his style. Did you see his stance? He had like the weirdest sort of stance where he was wide open to the body, like, and he had like a really awkward looking, and then all the commentators kept talking about how stiff he was. He was very robotic in what he done. Which I thought, like we talk about bamboozle when we talked about Luis Alberto. Remember I said Luis Alberto Lopez? When I was fixated on the way he styled. When I was watching this, I couldn't stop looking at the Japanese guy, the way that he moved. It was sort of bamboozled.
You're right. Now you say that, you mentioned about the commentator. Yeah, I remember him saying about being stiff, but I couldn't take my eyes away of the hand speed of Andy Cruz and the amount of shots he was landing. So the
output, the hand speed, the footwork. You're right in what you're saying about planting his feet, but you know what he's doing now? Now that he's planting his feet, it means that he's flat-footed a lot of the time as well. Because that's what that's what he seems to. Obviously, your amateur style, you're always up on your toes, and it's all. You see now when he's setting himself to throw his shots because he's trying to get the knockout. But it was a really good performance, and it always is. But you're right. Listen, what I worry about with him, and you sort of touched on it there, is that we're going to have this anti-yard sort of vibes, where he's going to go in with these guys that at this stage of his career. And he's going straight in with a Moratella. Do you see what I mean? I don't see. I don't see. The build. And I know it's because he's a decorated amateur. That's fine. And now everyone wants to do it the Lomachenko way, where you're a world. In the first 9 fights or whatever, your world title is. All that sort of stuff. So I sort of see. And listen, we talk about it on here anyway, being fast tracked and stuff. He's 29 years old, but there is. We talk about levels in the last fight. what worries me is that you see that you talked about that one shot he got caught with, and we know ourselves it only takes one shot to end the fight. But, and I'm not for 1 second saying that Andy Cruz loses to these guys because he has got all the skills in abundance, but it worries me that, you know, he's still a work in progress when it comes to the pro game.
Yeah,
and yes, he's number one, and you know it could get called that he gets Moratella next. I'll always have that little concern that it's a big jump from what he's been doing so far. And now I know you know, in amateur stuff, you know, all that sort of stuff, and you wouldn't usually, but there's this, and then it goes to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But on the flip side of that, it could happen, and he could flourish based on the skills and that he's got from all over the years and all the amateur wins. So it's a tough one. But going on Saturday night, like I say, he done exactly what he should do. He won every second, every round. It was his output I liked, you know, and his shot selection. He's just got it all in the buzz, but he's also he's standing in the pocket in front of him. He's not doing the amateur stuff where they're all around the ring and there's plenty of movement. He's not wasting a lot of energy either with the movement because he is planting his feet and he's throwing a lot of shots in the center of the ring. So, but yeah, it's a lot to like about Andy Cruz. He's a really, really good fighter, man. And he took him apart. And you know what I liked as well? He took him apart and smelt blood, and went for the stoppage as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we spoke about Bozy Ennis and that before, and you know the need to with so obviously the rap that Shakur Stevenson and that get. I think there is a conscious effort from the certain coaches and certain fighters not to get branded with that type of speed.
Running. Just say it, running.
Yeah, running. Yeah, even though I don't think it is.
Yeah,
but,
no.
But I think there's a conscious effort to try and steer away from that sort of labelling. Yeah.
Just to end on him, as I said there, mate. You're spot on. Just going forward because I want to see him do well. I think he's a nailed-on world champion when he's comfortable. Just don't get greedy. Just don't get greedy because it might cost you. But really good from Andy Cruz. Teremoana Jr. Dave on this card. Now he was supposed to be on the Australian card, wasn't he? Was it the Australian card? Or was it the Hooney one? It was on. It's supposed to be on some sort of card. We spoke about he was going in against a cruiserweight who had a record of 3-9 over 4 rounds. We had a little bit of a moan about it. Didn't understand. Anyway, that was pulled. It was out on Saturday night on this undercard. He took on a legit heavyweight in Aleem Whitfield, unbeaten 9-0, but he was fighting against a heavyweight fighter. Again. First round knockout from Teremoana Jr. Dave, what we seeing with this guy? I mean, he's 6-0 now. 8-0, sorry. 8 knockouts. I think he's got 6 first round knockouts or 7 first round knockouts, whatever it is. He's 6'6". He's still only 27. He's massive. He's a bit scary. He's an Olympian. You know, he's only defeating the Olympics was against Jalilov. There might be a blueprint here going on to this because Jalilov beat him 5-0 in the Olympics. Obviously, it's point scoring. He is slow. He's a little bit cumbersome. But you can't get near him. I know we're going to talk about the level of opponent he's up against, you know, and we're going to go down the Richard Torres Jr. and the Moses Atuma kind of route as well, because he's still turning over from amateur to pro. But there's something about this dude, because he hits so hard, he's hurting people with jabs. I know it's heavyweight boxing, that's what he's supposed to do. But there's certain fighters, like we spoke about Haisa the other day, and you were saying that he gives you the Makhmudov vibes.
Yeah.
This guy does. But I don't know. There's something telling me that he's going to be a problem. So I'll ask you straight away. Obviously, you talk about the first round for what it was worth.
Yeah.
This guy give you vibes that he's going to be a problem in the heavyweight division?
Oh, I'm on the fence with it. I don't know. I want to see what happens. I mean, we always say that when he's pushed back. Everyone's saying the same thing about Moses Atuma, all these other guys. What happens when they're under fire? So these early fights, it's hard to gauge. Does he have a big punch? Yes. Can he punch? Yes. Does he set himself his shots up? Yes. So I just think the heavyweight division's going in a slightly different direction. You know, with the big lump, the big cumbersome lump, for me, seems to be fizzling out. Now, you know, where you had your Joe Joyces who just stand there, boom. But I think, especially with Moses Atuma coming through fast hands, you've had Usyk. I know Usyk was a cruiserweight, yes, but I don't know that being big and can punch is enough anymore.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. You're right. This is why I'm going to rephrase the question. The last few weeks, we've reviewed and previewed 2 brothers in the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
The Pero brothers.
Yeah.
Different styles to this.
Yeah.
Olympic style, Cuban style. But we said we didn't get no no vibes off them. We didn't think that they're going to go on and do anything in the heavyweight division. This guy's the opposite style, but I get more. To me, Teremoana Jr. I think it's going to shock a few more people than the Pero brothers. So I'm kind of trying to rephrase it a little bit because they've got two completely different styles.
And you're right. And like I say, we're sort of nitpicking because we sort of said about the brothers that they don't seem to have that power. And that you know, and again, you know, that they need that equaliser like what Fabio Ward did. You can get schooled for 10 rounds and then bang, pull out a howitzer. I don't see that from the Pero brothers. Do I see that from Teremoana Jr.? Yeah, I see that. He's got that in his locker. But like you said, he's an Olympian. So will he get schooled? Probably not, because you know he's got that Olympic background, so he can obviously box and punch. I'm with you. I don't know. This is so hard. It's a really hard question. You sort of.
But you just said there, right? Will he get schooled? And that's why I made the reference to Jadalov beating him 5-0 at the Olympics. Maybe you can just outbox him if you can get close to him. Point score. I know people don't want to see points scoring in any division, especially not in the heavyweight division. But can you outbox him and stay away from that big right? I don't know, because he's quite slow and cumbersome, isn't he? And that's why I compared him to that Nelson Hisa going forward. I mean, that going forward for both guys, Hisa's now ranked with 2 of the sanctioning bodies for whatever they're worth in the top 10, I think he is. Going forward now, we're going to keep talking about Teremoana Jr. every time he's on, and we're going to be saying first-round knockouts. Eddie, put your hand in your pocket and give him someone else. Yes, he's only 8-0, Olympian, turning over into pro. Put your hand in your pocket now. Because don't get me wrong, he's racking up the highlight reel knockouts, but it's getting too predictable. Same with Moses, and obviously Moses is going on to fight Dillian White, which is a massive step up for him. I think we need to step up a bit more now, because this level of opponent, it's not boring because he's knocking dudes out, but again, just like Moses, Dave, he's not getting asked anything, nothing at all. First round knockouts. Let's step it up now. But going back to the original point, mate, what can you do?
I know, like I say, it's so hard to judge at the minute with all these first round knockouts against a certain level of opponent. He's just blasting them away. I'm with you. Until we see a sort of step up and someone that's going to throw back, it's very difficult. Now, I know we say the same thing about Moses Atuma, but Moses Atuma is one young. He's got fast hands, fast feet. He's got one of the fastest hands in the heavyweight division, and he can punch. So there's different attributes there that you can look at Moses Atuma and think yes. Do I think he's going to be a problem for a certain level of heavyweight? Yeah, I do. I think he will get. Listen, he may well go and get a world title. He may well do. I think he'll be up there, based on his punch power, based on fundamentals. Whether he'll get to the elite level, that's a different question. But I think he'll definitely get to fringe from what I've seen so far. But again, Eddie Hearn should bring him over to these shores now. We've got enough heavyweights. Frank's got a load of them, you know, and start putting him in with some of these guys over these shores, because the level of opponent he's going in with, it's difficult to tell where he's going to be at.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
you know,
nobody's talking about him either. Really, this is the thing. And why should you? Because the level of opponent he's fighting. Obviously, he's not fighting on these shores. People are probably talking about him in Australia, maybe the States, but. Yeah, and he's with one of the biggest, if not the biggest, stable in Matchroom. So I think a bit more promotion's needed on him. I don't think. I know a lot of boxing podcasts that will review fights on the weekend probably won't even mention Teremoana Jr. because of what it was, but we kind of do. I just want to see him do. I like there's something about him. Something about him is going to give certain people nightmares, but what do we know? But yeah, he's doing everything right so far. First round knockouts, etc. Just before we move on to Argentina. Did you see anything of Zach and Moses, mate? Shakur Stevenson's cousin, who's now with.
I know of him. Yeah. No, I missed that. No.
Yeah, so he's 4-0 now. Another slick black American, looks very good. But the difference with him and Shakur is going forward. So he's going to get the comparisons to his cousin, but he's a little bit different from his cousin. He looks like he's going for smelling blood and getting a stoppage. It's his third stoppage in a row. Again, level of opponents. He's a baby. He's 20-year-old southpaw. He's learning on the job. But you keep your eye out for him, ladies and gentlemen. He looks decent. He must run in the blood, if you like. So yeah, that was over in New York. I said about Buenos Aires on Saturday night. WBA interim title belt on the line. I mean. Look, we're talking about Nonito Donaire here, and I've put on the banner, Nonito Donaire isn't the Filipino Flash anymore. He's age 42. He's the same age as me and Dave. He's 2 years retired now. I think I can't remember if he announced his retirement, Dave, like Pacquiao, or just said he was taking a break, but he's been away for 2 years. A bit like Golovkin. Golovkin hasn't announced his retirement, but you kind of know that he's not coming back. Again, like Pacquiao, not keeping active. He's been thrown into this interim belt nonsense. He's got, a free shot, if you like. Look, the boxing community love him. He's a living legend. He really is. He's a 4-weight world champion. He's been in exciting fights. He's in the Philippines. Obviously, they don't have many heroes, but he is one of them. Again, it's name value with Donaire. He puts bums on seats. But what I watched on Saturday was he was up against Andres Campos. Just looking at my notes, a guy I've never heard of. He's a career flyweight. He's fighting up at bantamweight for an interim belt. WBA have brought him back. It wasn't very entertaining. This fight, Dave, stopped in round 9 on a technical decision. Nasty gash on
a head clash, wasn't it? Yeah,
head clash. Yeah, went to the scorecards. Donaire got the decision. I think he done just enough. It was but you go, I go, you go, I go. And I said there, he's not the Flash anymore. When we saw him against Santiago, I do remember saying that that's not the version we're used to seeing him. Back in the noughties and the early 2020s, it's kind of gone. The energy's gone. The quickness is gone. The feet are slowing down. He ain't that guy anymore. And I don't know if he's come out because he's got an ego. He doesn't come across that way to me. Whether he can't leave it alone, Dave. Whether he needs the money, I don't know what's going on. Or whether he can, because now he's won that belt. I'll explain about the belt in a minute after you've had a say. It's a right shit show, but is he smelling a Nakatani payday based on name value? Is he smelling attention payday based on name value? Because he'll get those fights because his name's Nonito Donaire. But going into the fight, mate, I thought it was close. It wasn't very entertaining, but it's not the Nonito Donaire of the past, is it? It's just not.
No, do you know what it reminded me of, mate? And I don't really want to say it about a legend in Donaire. It was like a glorified spar.
Yeah, it was like
you talk about it all the time, picking up your phone sort of business. Like there was not really a lot happening. It was just a run of the mill fight, and then I say the head clash came in and it went to the scorecards. But I'm getting the Pacquiao vibes with the governing bodies with this, like, and it's not right. Yeah, it's not right the way. I mean, I'm going to mention Pacquiao because it's part of the bumper news, like the highlights of the month. But like I say, it's not right for the people that are paying sanctioning fees anyway, who are sitting in their positions 3 and 4 and stuff like that, and getting no movement, getting no fights. For someone to be retired or say retired, but not been on the sofa for 2 years, comes out and then gets their interim belt. It's just a disgrace, really, the way that it works.
Yeah, it is.
But you had it right there, Nonito. It's impossible for him to be the same fighter that we all knew and love and sort of grew up with. Like I say, he's the same age as us. Like I say, we're still hanging from Saturday night on the piss. So you know what I mean. So it's just nature. And like I say, and you look at that performance, and you can't look at that performance and think, yes, like, you know what, that was actually a great performance. He's back. Let's put him in with someone. Like the names you mentioned there, like it would be a bloodbath if they put him in with Nakatani. And it really would, and it's not right. It's really not right. We don't ever call for retirement. He's a legend, but I don't want, he hasn't got that in the legs anymore to be going in there and scrapping. And he used to scrap as well.
He was in wars. Yeah, he was, and that's the point. That's disappeared. Even like before the stoppage, before the cut, at no part of that fight, whether his corner said he was cruising, I don't know what. Obviously, they're speaking in their language. Yeah. At no point of that fight did he smell blood. No, not one point did he kind of roll the dice. I'm not saying he has to, but you'd see him, go on the inside, throw combinations, and look to work the body, hurt his opponent, and wear and break him down. He was quite happy, as you rightly said there, just to be in a glorified spar. Yeah. It looked like he'd got off the sofa, got into this fight against a career light flyweight, and kind of just not even cruise. It was boring. It was.
And the thing is, like, you don't like. There's levels that he's got to go up to as well to even be put in a fight with Nakatani for world title or Tenshin or any one of them guys who have got so much output and work rate and they're fresh that he's got to go up many gears, and for me he doesn't have that. So what is the desire here? Like you said, is it money? Is it to be a world champion again at 42? I don't know. I don't think it's got to be. Surely it can't be about money. Maybe he just can't let it go. And and that happens, but and it's all well and good not letting let it go. Like Roy Jones going with Enzo Maccarinelli. No disrespect to Enzo. Enzo was great, but going in with levels of guys that he would never have fought in his prime, to being put in a position where he could fight for a world title off the back of this fight is completely different, because there is levels, like, and I just don't want to see it. I don't, as much as I love Nonito Donaire, I just don't, if he goes in with these top guys, it could be bad, and I just don't want that.
Well, he stopped for a reason, didn't he? Obviously, he was beaten up by Inoue on the fight. I think that was about 2020. Was that 2023? 22?
Yeah.
One of the fights of the year.
Yeah.
And you kind of saw a decline then. And obviously the Santiago fight, well, I remember us saying we didn't want to see him get beat up like that. Yes, he went in there to the end. But this is the shit show, the WBA. So I've just got up the rankings here, Dave, and I can see what they're trying to do. They're a business, they're trying to make money. So in this weight class with the WBA, listen to this. He's the interim champion now, Nonito Donaire. But there's also another interim champion. Yes, guys, another one in Antonio Vargas, but it gets worse. So you've got two interim champs, which makes 0 sense. It doesn't make 0 sense in WBA because every time these guys fight, they're picking up 3%. We've got the champion in Saya Tsutsumi, but he's not the champion. He's a champion in recess for whatever reason. So we've got no champion, no full champion. We've got no number one ranked contender, but at number 2, we've got Tenshin. So what I can see now is Tenshin versus Nonito Donaire, the kickboxer star of Tenshin that's gone into the boxing, that sells tickets, that is a huge superstar, fighting against a legend that's coming back in Donaire for the full championship. Yeah. What a fucking shit show that is, but I can see why the WBA are doing it to make as much money as possible. I bet you, I'm going to make a claim now. I'm going to make a claim. Between now and Christmas time, you will see Nonito Donaire take on Tenshin for the full WBA title. I'll bet you that happens because they can smell the pound notes. They can smell the WBA can smell those pound notes because that'll make them money. You got the whole of the Philippines, stop what they're doing and watch Pacquiao. And they do it with Donaire to an extent as well. And obviously Tenshin being the superstar he is in Japan, you've got millions of eyeballs on it, Dave. So from a business sense, that's what I can see happening. And Donaire is probably, whether he needs the money, we just spoke there. I don't think he's an egomaniac. And I can see that happening. I really can see that happening now. And as you said there, I know Tenshin's, what is he, 7-0, whatever he is. He'll school him. I think he'll school him there because the Filipino flash he's gone. He ain't there no more. There's no more flashes from him.
These Japanese fighters are too fast. They've got too much output. They're too quick. And for a 42-year-old legend, it just won't be enough. Yeah.
I don't want to see him get beat up either. No,
I don't.
It's not nice to see, especially when he is a legend of the game. But as you said there, mate, we don't call for retirement. I know we owe a way to tell him that he can't make a few quid. I just hope it doesn't go tits up for him. I really don't. Like you mentioned, Roy Jones Jr. there. I mean, people are still talking about him fighting out in Russia and things like that, rather than concentrating on, the success he had in his prime. But he's back. So we'll see what happens going forward with him. Right. Lastly, something to cheer about. Sylwia Doligala, friend of the show, friend of mine and Dave's. Up there in that Batley gym with Callum Simpson and Jasmina Sapatochna. Follow her on Insta, follow her on Twitter. Never out of the gym, always busy. Again, we speak about the girls, Dave. Full-time job, just keeping busy, keeping active, waiting for that phone call. She was up at the Green Bank Sports Academy in Liverpool, taking on Charlotte Powell in a rematch for the Central Area title. This is at Super Flyweight. This was on Black Flash Promotions TV. So it was hard to get hold of. You had to put there was a code which you scanned. It took you to the website and you could go on and watch it through there. Luckily, I managed to watch this at work on Saturday night. We was going to do a preview, but because StreamYard fucked up, we couldn't. But now we're going to actually review a fight, and I'll be putting this on Instagram, tagging her in it, and obviously we're going to get her back on the show as promised. We've still got to get Dolan back on, and obviously one of our favourites in Jazz will be back on between now and when she fights again. But this is all about Sylwia, mate, at the weekend. The first fight she had with Charlotte Powell in Oldham back in March. Very super close fight. I know you wasn't here for the interview, but you've gone and you've watched the interview. You've watched the first fight. Now you've seen a fight on Saturday night. Super close to first fight, 95-96. I don't think, even though there's bias with me, I think she done enough to win the first fight. I'm glad they've rolled it back. This was probably fight of the weekend. In terms of, it was exactly the same as the first fight, but both girls were more aggressive. Both girls got cut. Both girls wanted to go to war. But the difference was Sylwia started a little bit quicker this time than she did the first fight. I barely gave Powell a round. Now, again, biased. If I went back and watched, I think, do you know what? Powell just scraped that by, there's a swing round in there. But Sylwia Doligala, she's a good little fighter from her debut. She's a really good little fighter. You can see I've got so much to say, But we spoke with Liam about Callum Simpson. Obviously, Callum Simpson was in the corner with her, as he does. He puts her on her shoulders like he did with Yaz and, parading another belt in the camp. That camp they've got there is so small, but so closely knit and tight. I mean, the trainer, Mark Hurley, now, he's got 3 champions. He's got Callum, European champion. He's got Jazz, European champion. And he's got Sylwia, the Central Area champion. These are legit belts. Yeah. We laugh and joke they get interim belts, silver belt, international. We laugh and take the piss because we don't rate them. A Central Area title belt now is first to kick on and get in English and get a Commonwealth, European, British. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. She's doing it the right way. But the way she's fighting as well, you go back and watch her debut in Malta when she literally, with another trainer, didn't know what to do, was thrown in the deep end. How Hurley's trained her into, or coached and tutored her into the fighter she's become today at the age of 30. She's got another 5 years, mate. She's getting better. And that she couldn't miss that right hand on Saturday night. She's kind of perfected the jab. Powell has so much trouble with the jab, jabbing ahead of at times. She'd counter her with the right, make her miss. Again, it was a close fight, but the skill level with Doligala was just a bit better than Charlotte Powell's, and she deserved everything, man. You can see the team went crazy. It means so much to her. She was all marked up. So was Powell. There was respect after the fight. It was a war. But the level of IQ from Sylwia Doligala, even at this level, was a bit too much for Charlotte Powell. So she's gone away, done the homework, come back a better fighter, and fair fucks to her, man. She's now the new Central Area flyweight champion of the UK. So, yeah, fair fucks to her. I'm so pleased for her as well because she's such a nice person. Again, she lives a life. She works a full-time job. She has to get sponsors. She has to get people to pay for her medical bills and all things like that. The bits and pieces nobody knows about. People just think, oh, they're boxers, so they earn a lot of money. They don't need to work. Now, man, they're kind of semi-pro, if you like, but when they get in the ring. So, yeah, I've got so much to say about it because I'm so chuffed, just like I was with Jazz, watching it at work, trying to keep my voice down, going, go on, Sylv, go on, Sylv. Like a casual, just go on, hit her, because I was it was an exciting fight. You must have felt the same watching it yourself, mate. Yeah. She performed so well. And, again, fair play to her.
Yeah, well, like I say, we've got a little bit of affiliation with that camp, so we always want them to do well, especially as Jazz is one of our friends now, and we've sort of forced that on her. But but no, she done very, very well. And you know what I liked about it? You could sort of see the improvements. You could see that they've watched back the first fight and tweaked little things, and the things that maybe they'd missed in the first fight, and worked on stuff to improve in the second fight, and I feel that's what they sort of implemented, and it was great to see. And you know what, it was sort of a real fan friendly fight as well. They were both going for it, like you said. They were both cut, they were both marked. Sometimes in the women's fights, you don't really see much like sort of blood and guts, and it's all, and you don't get knockouts, so they get criticised for that, which is we don't see it that way, but a lot of the casuals and that do. So they've stood in there in the pocket and they've thrown shots, they've thrown bombs. And they both wanting to win. So it was it was very, very good, and it was nice. I'll say we like the things that they do at that camp. It's like a family camp that they've got there, and you could sort of see it comes through in all of them, and that's why like Callum Simpson's getting a lot of love at the moment, and the Barnsley and stuff. And Jazz, we spoke about Jazz on here, how lovely she is, and she's all smiles, and and it just the whole sort of success is breeding through that camp. And it was a great performance from Sylwia. I was gutted. I think I had family issues, which is why I couldn't come on the time that you went on with her. But I would like to obviously get chatting to her again. But I liked, myself, I like to see, especially in rematches. And we obviously spoke about Dave Allen and Johnny Fisher, where I thought, they go away and they watch it and they work on things and they change it up and sort of like that. Obviously, that didn't happen for Johnny Fisher, but you could see that in Sylvia's work. Whereas, they've 100% worked on other things. And, this is a small, sometimes it's just fractions that make a difference in fights and the small tweaks. And that seems to be what they've done. And she's come out the winner. And the Southern Area title is a great title to win, by the way. It's a fantastic title, and she should be so proud. And we're proud of her on this show. And it was great.
Mate, do you think as well, because she's so small, she has an advantage as well? It seems like she's got, because sometimes Charlotte Powell was having to punch down.
Yeah,
where Sylwia kind of could see the shot coming, she'd kind of just move out the way or have enough lateral movement to get out the way, and it was that overhand right. I don't know if her size I'm a boxing purist, but I'm not a tactical technician, if you like. But I think there's an advantage of her being so small as well, because she couldn't miss with that right hand. And as you said there, mate, going forward with her as well, I was having a look at the ranking system. I mean, from where she's come and where she's going, you've got Lauren Parker, it's just above her in number 3. Now, we know Lauren Parker, she's just been in with Emma Dolan, former European champion. I mean, that is a step up, but that is the step up. There's no going back now for her. She's just got the central area. Now we need to go even higher, in my opinion. Depends how far she wants to go. They all tell the same, don't they? No, we'll take the fight when it comes and we're working it from there.
Our managers will sort it out. That's what they always say, don't they?
Basically, yeah. But then you've got Shannon Ryan and obviously another one of our girls, Emma Dolan. But I can't see Emma Dolan sticking around too long because she's a big girl. I don't know how she makes weight. She's tall, rangy, but she's the best of Britain. But I'd love her to see him with Lauren Parker next, man. Yeah, I'd love to see her with Lauren Parker. I'd love to see her on the TV station as well, even if it's like the prelims on the Zone or Queens. Do you know what I mean? On a card like that, like Jazz got her chance on Sky Sports, and she went and done the business by winning the European title. You know. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, but also with that as well, the nature of the fight and how the fight went. Why wouldn't you want to have on a card on the TV card? You know what I mean? It was all action. You know, there was plenty of action in there. It weren't like we talk about running. It weren't none of that. They were both meeting in the centre of the ring, throwing shots. But I say blood and guts and that. They're the sort of fights you want on an undercard. You know, especially early on down, like you say, down the prelims, something like that to get the crowd going and, you know, looking forward to a really good main event. They're the sort of fights you want to put on there. She's done a reputation no harm in the way that she fought. Yes, the win is the win and, you know, the title's great. But also, the performances make a big thing as well. And if she continues to fight that way, she'll pick up a fan base, man.
Well, she's excited.
Just for her style, for the style, yeah.
She hasn't got a stoppage yet, but the way she's throwing now, and she's sitting down the shots as well. That's what I'm saying. There seems to be a lot of work going in that gym. And I mentioned Liam now, our mate. He said about Callum Simpson, and I understand what he's saying, moving away from the Dickie's gym in Batley to go somewhere else and try and improve. I totally get what he's saying. I just, because there seems to be a lot of loyalty, a lot of love, family-based gym where all the attention is on Callum, it's on Jazz, it's on Sylwia. And I mentioned about like people going to Eddie Reynoso because of reputation, but he's not giving them time. He's focusing on Canelo and Canelo alone. It's different. It seems to be different there. And look at the success they're having. I mean, that's a beautiful belt, by the way. That central, I don't know if it's a new one. I'll have to ask her when she comes back on. That's a lovely belt she's got. That black one is very similar to the WBC one with all the flags around it. Looks whether there's an association there, I don't know. But it's an absolutely beautiful belt, mate. But just before we move on, just to wrap up the review, when she came on last time, I spoke about fights going forward in conversation. I mean, if she was to fight Jasmina Sapatoczna in Poland, in Krakow, I mean, flights are £32. The beer's cheap over there. Could you imagine? I'm going to answer that again when she comes on. I know it's only like kind of tongue in cheek, but could you imagine that?
You nearly caused beef last time Jasmine was on, but you told her Sylwia said she would fight her. She went, "Did she?" I thought, "Oh my god, you're gonna wreck the love in the gym there."
I'm trying to matchmake as well. Plus, I think I upset Jazz because I told her I fell in love with Jazz. But I cheated on her with Sylwia. So.
Oh yeah, I know you was on a roll in that. Yeah,
I know.
Go back to your question. Yeah, if that did actually happen, I would 100% go.
That's mad, isn't it? Matchmake, a Polish derby.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we'll wrap up now for the review before we jump into a huge amount of David McDonald. But performance of the weekend, mate. Where's it going for you? Who caught your eye the weekend?
Andy Cruz. I'll say I would go Richardson Hitchins, but I felt like Kambosos played more of a part in Richardson. So, well, listen, he may have looked great anyway, but had Kambosos pushed him back and made more of a fight of it, I don't think he would have done. So I think the way that he waited too long in the centre of the ring and just got his head banged off meant that he looked better. So I think Andy Cruz for me.
Yeah. Sylwia for me, mate. Loyalty, biased as well. I mean, those, to be fair as well to Charlotte Powell, they've had 20 rounds together now of absolute edge of your seat stuff, exciting for a central area belt in front of a couple of hundred people in leisure centres. And to me, it was the most entertaining because you said there, they both went to war. They both wanted it. The title means so much to them. You know, they've worked hard. They've been in camp to get this belt and then move on to bigger and better things. They both wanted it. And Sylwia came out on top. Their IQ was just a little bit better than Charlotte Powell's. And when you see somebody, as you mentioned about rematches, gone away, done the homework, and you've got an A-star by doing your homework. But again, bias there, mate. But I thought she was fantastic at the weekend. And she gets my performance of the weekend. Right. Something we haven't done for a while, mate. It's time for your dongs.
It's David McDonald and the dongs. So I've gone back to the 12th of May. It was the day I landed back from Benidorm, and just picked out some highlights of things I know we would have spoken about in David McDonald. So listen, we all, obviously a lot of people all know the business and stuff like that, but we haven't discussed it on here. So here we go on some of the highlights of, let's say, May, or the last month. So following his epic battle against Chris Eubank Jr. last month, Conor Benn has now entered the IBF's latest super welterweight rankings at number 5. Now, I would have asked you how, because one, he didn't fight at welterweight. He fought a middleweight. So how does a loss at middleweight get you put into the rankings at number 5 of the super welterweight rankings? David Graham, please enlighten me. So this is I would have brought this up, as you know, and asked this question. Yeah. How does that happen?
3 words: Wild Wild West. My opinion. Again, we're going to get onto Pacquiao.
Yeah,
we've kind of said our piece anyway, but we obviously speak about it. Since that's happened, mate, I kind of don't. I kind of take it with a pinch of salt now. Rankings, sanctioning fees, belts. It means nothing. If you can get somebody who's been on the sofa, unless you announce their retirement 5 years ago, not paying any sanctioning fees, not being ranked, and then to get a number 1 title shot with a rematch clause in there, that means they can do anything they want. So your question there, why is he ranked highly with the welterweight in the IBF welterweight rankings when he's just lost to a middleweight at middleweight? It doesn't make sense at all. And again, it's the Wild Wild West. They can do what they want. If it makes them, they're all doing it for money. It's all about 3%. It's all about the 3%. They can put the best, where they can put the best fights on possible that makes them commercial and business and coin. They're going to do it.
Yeah.
To me and you, and to every other boxing fan, it makes 0 sense. You shouldn't be anywhere near that ranking. That's not how it should work. You don't. How is that meritocracy? Losing at middleweight, so you get ranked higher at welterweight. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. That's not how it should be. But no way.
Yeah, but you see, if I'm ranked at 6 and I wake up in the morning and I look at that and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, like, yesterday I was at number 5. I'm fighting this division, and then Conor Benn just gets dropped straight in above me. Like, I mean, you got to think of the other fighters that are in that rankings and be thinking, well, hang on a minute, like I say, I mean, we don't know what goes on in the background, but can you just like get on the email or get on a phone and go, listen, what is this? I've done this, and this. I'm number 5. I should be doing this, and now you just put him there. I don't know how, is there a sort of appeal process? Is there a sort of, you go to your promoter and go, what is going on here? Can you get me some answers? You know what I mean? Because I'd be like thinking, hang on a minute, because whoever was at 5 is now at 6. They might have to have another fight on top of what they were already going to have to get another shot, just based on the fact that they've just planted him in at number 5. It's bollocks, mate, is what it is.
Which again, it's bollocks. Again, we just spoke about Nonito Donaire. How's he got an inch and world title shot based off nothing?
Yeah.
It is. I mean, we've said it. We've been doing this now for 2.5 years, wherever it is, and we keep saying the same. Not just us, other podcasts, other platforms, and it's the only. It is the wild West. It is make it up as you go along. It really is. There's no other answer for it, Dave.
No.
Because none of them are following the rules that are stated in their manifestos or their itineraries. They're just they are, because how can I make more money? They're thinking, right, if I put so and so there, I know eyes are going to be on this one because so and so's a superstar or they've got more commercial value. What I do is, in the meantime, I'll give that person an eliminator and then promise them to get a world title shot. I'm just giving them a bullshit belt. I'm just taking 3% off of that, and then I'll kind of forget about them. That's to me, that's the narrative or the rhetoric, you like. You know, so don't be surprised with what's been made ever going forward. None of it makes sense.
No. Right, moving swiftly on. Here we go. So, Manny Pacquiao has re-entered the WBC welterweight rankings at number 5 and will be challenging Mario Barrios for the WBC world title on July 19th. Now, Conor Benn's done the same thing for the IBF, right? Pacquiao's now gone in at number 5 in the WBC, and then he gets a world title shot straight off the bat. He's 46 years old. He's not been active. It's a fucking disgrace. And you see, if anything happens to him, I'm not saying, but we put Mario Barrios as one of the weaker champions out of the 4. But even so, he's active. He's fresher. He's current, younger. He could do damage to a 46-year-old Pacquiao. We've seen him in his last couple of fights. He fought a kickboxer guy, didn't he? And
That was an exhibition, and then he got stopped. That's
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah. I think it's a fucking disgrace. One, how that's even been set up, and two, the fact that they're sanctioning this. Like I say, there'd be blood on their hands if something happens to Pacquiao, who is an absolute legend in the sport. But I mean, like you said there about Wild West with Conor Benn, how the fucking hell can just pull a 46-year-old? That means we could do that with, I know Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, but you can do it with anyone. Bring Mike Tyson out then and give him a world title shot against Alexander Usyk.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If we can just do that, based on what, other than money, based on what are you pulling Pacquiao out for this?
Name value. That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah. And like I say, they want to hope to fucking God that he comes through this unscathed.
Dave, there's a rematch clause in it as well.
Yeah.
A rematch clause. So that WBC belt now is being held up.
Yeah.
By someone that's been sitting on the sofa for 5 years.
Yeah. It's a disgrace, mate. I don't even want it. I don't want any part of it, to be honest with you. Will we watch it? Yes. But I just think it's a disgrace. I think it's terrible. And Mauricio Sulaiman, man, what is he doing?
It's a leech, isn't he?
Yeah, what is he doing with this? It's bad, mate.
It's becoming the WBC has become an actual joke. Hashtag bin the belts. You know my feelings on it. I don't blame Manny Pacquiao. I don't blame him at all. He wants to still fight. Again, is it ego? It can't be money unless he's pumped so much money into the Philippines that he's running for senator. He didn't make it. I don't know why he's coming back. Again, we talk about the love for the sport, can't let go. But I don't blame him. All he can do is ask. And if they say no, right, you don't pass. I don't know how he's passed his medicals. Whether he keeps super fit, I don't know. He's obviously got to have medicals. He's got to be licensed, got to be sanctioned, all those kind of things. I don't blame him whatsoever. It's like Sulaiman. It's like the Nevada. I think it's Nevada or California, one of them that sanction him. His medicals, obviously, he passed them. I'd love to see proof that he's passed his medicals. I'm not suggesting that he's on anything, but because of his age, it's very risky. And you just said there about Mario Barrios, younger, fresher, active champion. We just saw him nearly get stopped against a kickboxer in an exhibition fight. He lost to Ugas. It was gone then. It's been 5 years out, whatever it is. It's not coming back. I understand what it is. It's 3%. It's a massive purse. The whole of the Philippines will watch it. The whole of the world will be watching him because it's Pacquiao. That's what you do. Look, I didn't watch the Mike Tyson Jake Paul because I was dead against him. That's even an older man, been out even longer. And obviously, you see the highlight reels going forward. And I saw Mike Tyson try and land a right and then kind of stop halfway. So then there's a clause in the contract where he couldn't knock Jake Paul out. This is different. This is for a legit title. So Mario Barrios ain't going to go fucking soft on Pacquiao. He don't want to lose his belt to an old man. He's worked hard to get this belt. Yeah. And all the other guys you said there in that top 15, what is the fucking point? What is the point of them paying 3%, getting themselves into position for then WBC say, hang on a minute, boys, you just stop there. I know you've been paying your sanctioning fees and you'll continue to pay your sanctioning fees. That guy over there is going to make me a lot of money. I'll just ship him in. And if he loses, I'll give him another shot because he makes me another 3% because he's the money man. It's wrong. There's no meritocracy in it. They're leeches. They need kicking out. And so I've always campaigned for the Ring Magazine belt. No sanctioning fees, 1 versus 2, and that's it. But that's in my head. That's not reality. The reality is, again, so it sound boring, guys. Make it up as you go along. I should be watching it because it's Pacquiao and I love him. The boxing world loves Pacquiao, but it's wrong. It's still wrong.
But also as well, right? So you see these guys in the rankings, yeah? Champions fight probably twice a year. So Barrios could. So if that's 2 fights, his next 2 fights against Pacquiao are sorted out. So I'm just using hindsight here. Some of these guys could be in their early 30s, and they've still got there, and they could be number 3 or 4. So obviously they've got to get to number 1 before they get to, or unless you're Pacquiao, you can be anywhere you want. But their whole career is dwindling away on the off chance they can get a world title shot, and then they can just dig someone else out and pull him out. And you never get that. And like I say, it's all wrong, man. It's all wrong. It's like say what you want about the UFC, and it's like, at least it's done on merit. 1 fights 2, 3 fights 4. That just doesn't happen. You could be in the top 10. It makes no fucking odds because you'll get your shot when they deem fit, and that's all there is to it. It ain't done on where you sit in that table. It isn't. It's wherever makes the most money at the time, or wherever they see fit. They'll pick and choose when you get a shot, regardless of where you are in that rankings.
I lost you for a second there, mate. It went blank. Did your screen go blank?
No, yours is a bit fuzzy at the minute.
Yeah, you're back now. It went a bit fuzzy. You're back now. Sorry, but I missed about 30 seconds of what you said.
Oh no, I was saying there is that it doesn't matter where you sit in them rankings. They'll pick and choose when you get your world title shot. You could be at 8, you could be at 9. Like I say, the rankings mean absolutely fuck all because they'll just dig people out. They move it around as and when they want. They pick and choose when they want. So you'll get your world title shot when they see fit, and that's all there is to it, regardless of where you sit in them rankings. So they mean absolutely fuck all. And like I say,
he gets stopped, Dave.
Yeah, I reckon he gets stopped. Yeah. I hope it ain't like the one that against Manuel Marquez. I hope it ain't nothing like that. If he gets face planted like that, there'll be fucking hell to pay. But like I say, right, UFC have got it right. It should be 2v3, 3v4, and you work your way up that top 10 based on the fights you have in that top 10. And then you get your title shot. This people sitting at 8, then get a title shot before someone that's sitting at 3, and all this other shit. It's bollocks. But yeah, Pacquiao, they just need to make sure that they need to hope that nothing happens to him. So, right.
And what if he wins? What if he wins? Sorry, what if he wins?
Well,
he's staying to try and unify, isn't he? That's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And as we just said, Barrios is the weaker of the champions.
Yeah.
I mean, Boots Ennis to kill him.
I know.
I mean,
yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible, mate. Right, the WBO have confirmed representatives for Xander Zayas versus Jorge Perez have been reached for the vacant WBO Superweight World title. Sebastian Fundora was recently stripped of the title by the sanctioned body after pursuing a rematch with Tim Tszyu over a fight with Zayas. So Zayas is fighting Perez. Fundora, because Fundora is fighting Tim Tszyu.
A lot of people call that a duck from Fundora. I don't know what to make of it. Xander Zayas, I know we're massive fans. You love him. He's turned into a perfect boxer at the moment, isn't he? He deserves a shot. He's doing everything right. I think Top Rank needs to do a bit more with him in terms of commercial value, putting him out there because he's such a great fighter. But I'm not against the Tim Tszyu rematch. That was a fantastic bloodbath fight. That was. I really enjoyed that, and I'd love to see. I'm again big fans of the Tszyus. I'd love to see Tim pull it round. You know, we saw him against Murtazalia get destroyed. He's had that one fight in Australia to get his confidence back again. I'm for that fight again, but I'm kind of with the sanctioning bodies. They've stripped him to make sure Xander Zayas has his shot. So they're doing something right for a change. So if you're not going to defend that title like we've asked, then sorry, Mr. Fundora, we're going to strip you. And that's how it should be. Again, just make up because if it was somebody else, if it was like a Canelo or an AJ or whoever, somebody that's got massive commercial value, that motherfucker ain't getting stripped.
No.
So, but yeah, going forward with the fight, mate. Fundora versus Tim Tszyu Part 2, fantastic. And obviously Xander Zayas, as we said on there, again, he's going to be a future world champion. A guy that's was a knockout artist, developing his whole round game. He's turned into a perfect fighter. So yeah, I haven't got a problem really with either of those two statements you've made there, mate.
No, and like I say, I would like to see Tim Tszyu again against Fundora. He got cut early in the fight and fought that fight with a really bad cut that obviously affected his performance. Yeah. So I'd like, obviously that can happen again, but I'm intrigued to see what would happen without that because I feel like he was, up to that point he was doing okay. So, and it was a nasty cut on the top of his head, wasn't it? And,
I called it the puzzle. Do you remember when we had Liam on? We was talking about Fundora's last fight, and you two kind of went against me. Said he has been stopped, but he is beatable because he's tall, he's quite open and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see if Tim Tszyu can solve the puzzle, if you like.
Yeah.
Because he's been stopped once, I get that, but since then, everyone's kind of struggled with him. And you made a great point there. Tim Tszyu was fighting with one eye, so he's got 20/20 vision this time. It should be a different fight, but I think it's a great fight. I really
it is, yeah. But, I mean, for Fundora though, to give it to be allowed yourself to be stripped to fight Tim Tszyu, I find that a little bit odd. You know what I mean? Because what's the desire? To be a world champion or to give Tim Tszyu a rematch? You know what I mean? So like you said about a duck there, it seems a bit iffy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on board with that.
The WBO again have denied Callum Smithson's formal request for a mandatory title shot against Dimitri Bivol. The decision will clear the path for a trilogy bout between Bivol and Beterbiev expected later this year. Meanwhile, Smith is in negotiations to defend his interim WBO light heavyweight title against Anthony Yard in August in Riyadh. So, Callum Smith put a request in, and rightly so, if he's the interim, because surely that's what it's meant to be for, to fight Bivol, but they've said no.
Yeah.
So,
He's asked. He's asked. His management team and obviously his promotional team have asked. They've done the question. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to ask questions. They're supposed to chase down sanctioned bodies and get the title shots. They're doing the job. But obviously, it's looking like we're going to have Bivol versus Patervia Part 3. You're not getting any shot yet. You're not getting any shot yet. There's 4 white belts on the line there.
Yeah.
So for a big 3% of all the sanctioning bodies, you're not getting a title shot just yet. Maybe after the 3rd one, when the belts become scattered, then you will be kind of either upgraded or you will face the number 1 contender with your interim belt. But yeah, again, I can see why then he's not getting that shot, Dave. That's clearly obvious because they're looking for Part 3.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The Gervonta Davis versus Laurent Moat rematch will take place on August the 16th in Las Vegas. The Ring magazine have stated. Now, it was a majority draw the last time, even though everyone had it as Gervonta losing. I think he got away with one there, didn't he?
Yep.
So the rematch is now on, and rightly so. And let's see if Gervonta Davis is going to be better this time, or whether Lamont Roach has got his number.
I think Lamont Roach surprised most people that night. Obviously, he was fighting from a weight below as well. He come up a weight, and he should have got the decision really. But again, we spoke about people doing their homework. Sylwia doing her homework at the weekend, going away. I don't think Tank fucks up this time. We remember when we reviewed the show, mate. We were saying we were going like round 2, 3, 4, 5. He's downloading, then he'll detonate. Round 6, no detonation. 7, no detonation. 8, no. As the further it went on, the more comfortable and better Roach became. He looked like the one that if there's any stoppage going to be made, it's going to come from Roach. Tank was off it, whether he overlooked him, whether he wasn't focused, I don't know. But if he doesn't do the homework this time, I could just see it being exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because remember, he's a home fighter as well with PBC. You know, he's their golden boy. So for him to get a draw at home on a PBC card, it tells you a lot how good Roach was.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if Gervonta was at the races that day, mate. So I'm expecting the detonation. Whether it comes early, mid rounds, or late, he's going to have to do a lot better because he was outboxed and he really should have. I agree. I think most of the boxing community, unless you're a die-hard Tank fan, he lost that fight.
Yeah, he needs to be better. Like I say, based on his other performances, it looks like he maybe took him lightly. But we'll find out in the rematch to see whether it's the beginning of the end. You know, it could be the start of a downward spiral. Time wait. You said that time waits for no one. It could we start seeing a decline in Gervonta,
and that's why he's not taking those big fights against the other champions. It might be quite telling. Do you know what I'm saying? Why he's not going after the other champions of the division? Yeah. Is there something telling him now? Even he's only young, isn't he? Was he late 20s, Tank, early 30s, if that? Yeah,
I would say early 30s. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah, only time will tell. There was some sad news, and we see a lot of it on some of the shows that we'd watched in the last couple of weeks. They've done the 10 chimes and whatnot, and it was for the sad learning of the tragic passing of Georgia Cardenelli, aka Georgia O'Connell, aged 25. She was a promising 3-0 prospect, having won multiple youth amateur medals, but she had been battling cancer, so she passed away. I'd seen her quite a lot of this a couple of weeks ago. They've done some announcements on a few of the shows there, and it's just terrible. Like I say, 25 years old to lose, especially her family, and that it's just awful. And rest in peace, young Georgia. It's terrible times.
Yeah, the 10 bells. Yeah, they've been doing it. I think the Josh Kelly fight the other night, they done it there. It is very sad. 25 taken away so young, promising career going forward. Been tipped for stardom. I don't think anybody knew. It's like literally you go on your Twitter feed and you say, "Wow!" and then you find out she's died of cancer, and that wasn't in. Obviously, they kept it behind closed doors. Like, why would you want anybody to know? Yeah, but you feel for her family. She recently got married as well, didn't she? So time waits for nobody. Enjoy life the best way you can. Let's all be nice to each other in reality, because you never know when your nearest and dearest are gonna depart. So rest in peace. Yeah, very sad news. Yeah.
It was awful, yeah. I like this fight though. Not so much what I was saying. I was going to say on the card it's on, but here we go. Floyd Schofield will return against Tevin Farmer on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Julio Chavez Jr. Cesar Chavez Jr. on June 28th. That's not a bad fight.
It's a good fight. Yeah, Tevin Farmer's getting a lot of love, isn't he? After his 2 performances against William Zepeda.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a hard fight again for Schofield. Cepeda found out how hard it was. Yes, he came through it in the end.
Yeah.
Different, Schofield is another slick American, isn't he? Complete different fight to Cepeda. So could it be a bit of a bore fest? Is he going to try and pick him off? Is he going to roll the dice like Cepeda did? I don't know, but it's a hard night's work for Schofield. That's a really hard. He's becoming as well. We've said it before. At his late age, and Tevin Farmer, he's now becoming a gatekeeper. If you kind of beat Tevin Farmer, then you're ready to challenge for a title, if that makes sense. That's what he's becoming, isn't he? So, yeah, it's a good fight, difficult fight. I hope they don't kind of cancel each other out.
Yeah,
what we were getting from Cepeda is constant pressure, unloading all the time. But with Schofield, he's a bit more slick. We might wait, and then Tevin Farmer would be happy to let you wait. So it's you go, I go, you go, I go. But on paper, it's decent. Yeah, it's a decent fight, mate. I agree.
Yeah, you're right. There's a danger of them it being a bit of a stinker because of their styles. They may not gel. The reason that Tevin Farmer looked as good as he did is because he was put under some heavy artillery from William Cepeda, which is what fully expected. But in that, it brought out a better Tevin Farmer. Now, if Floyd Schofield's not going to, he's not going to, we know he's not going to fight that way. So it might be a lot of waiting and trying to counter punch and trying to draw someone in. So it could end up not being name wise a great fight. But reality, it might not be the best. And that's what worries me.
Yeah, it could be a reach for your phone job, couldn't it, that one?
Could be. Now, this one's going to set you off, I'm sure, because VADA informed all relevant parties on Wednesday that Hammy Mungai, A sample, returned an adverse analytic finding of testosterone metaboloids following urine sample when he defeated Bruno Siraj. Mungai has 10 days to send a B sample. Mungai defeated Siraj in the super middleweight rematch after he was KO'd by the Frenchman in December in the upset of the year. Hammy Mungai, not another one.
The list is endless now, isn't it? Especially it's Eddie Reneso fighters as well. I've heard people look. It's in the same camp. It was a Canelo, Luis Neri. There was another Mexican kid as well. Obviously, they're a team. Reneso's not the nutritionist. Is it his fault? Possibly not. There's a coincidence there. But just going on to it's not going to set me off because this is part and parcel of boxing. What should be happening, though, Dave? It should be a no contest now. If you're going to take away a no contest from Ryan Garcia against Devin Haney, and Ryan Garcia has obviously been found to be juicy after the fight, you do the same now with Munguia and Bruno Siraj. He's been found juiced going into that fight. It's a drug cheat.
Yeah.
So you make it no contest. As far as I know on BoxRec, it still says Munguia, points decision. So that needs stripping now. That needs to be forgotten about, like the Devin Haney fight. It should be a no contest. But if he fails the B sample, which is highly likely to, again, we've had this conversation going into the Conor Benn thing so many times, mate. He should be having a 4-year ban or a 10-year ban, whatever, and peel it, get down to 4. And it's just rife. It's still right. We can kind of sugarcoat it and kind of ignore it. But these are people's lives. These are people's lives. And banned substances are banned for a reason. We call them loaded fists. You're going in there with your fists anyway. You're taking a lot of punishment to the body, to the head. If you've got a banned substance in your body, which gives you an advantage, that's cheating. And you could kill somebody, and it comes under manslaughter / murder. Yeah. We can moan, groan, whine, bitch. It's going on. It's rife, and people are getting caught. But again, he'll probably get a slap on the wrist. He'll probably have a year out, and he'll be back again next year. So I don't know. I just don't know. Plus, he's affiliated with the WBC and things like that. So you know how kind of Sullivan doesn't give a shit. But it's all gone quiet. Look at Dennis McCann. What's happening with that?
Yeah, no, yes, nothing on that.
Nothing heard on that at all. Like you said, he's all his punching powers come all of a sudden. Now he's found out to be juicy. Now he's disappeared. No one knows what's happening with him. Is he banned? Is he having a silent ban? There's no clarity. I mean, it's 10 days since Munguia felt that had to put that B sample in. Haven't heard anything. No. Is he banned? Is he on a silent ban? Is he out fighting again? Was it tainted? Nobody knows. Yeah. So they're going to have to going forward, mate. There's going to have something where you have a 5-year ban if you fail the first time. Second time, a 10-year ban, no appeal, and then the third time, fuck off.
Yeah.
So I said it weren't going to wind me up, but now you've got me into a rant, so I'm going to leave it. So that time you had a moan and groan about the drugs.
Well, I was going to say, you mentioned something there. Like if someone gets hurt, they got loaded fists. It's a manslaughter charge. Why can't it be some sort of a charge anyway? Why do we have to kill someone first before you to be nicked? You know what I mean? We're not here to change the law. But the governing bodies don't do anything about it, do they? So why can't there be a law where it is if you're found to be juicy and you're in a fight, it's for me that's premeditated. That is premeditated. It's like you're planning to kill. You know what I mean? So there's one. Why not? Let's not go down that route. And then I know you shouldn't really bring in that into sport. But if the governing bodies, if someone gets killed, they're going to want to bring someone in for that.
It's going to take that, I think, Dave. Unfortunately, I think it's going to take that. Someone is going to die in the ring, and someone's going to be found. That person that's committed that crime, if you like, going to be found to be juiced, and then it'll bring boxing to disrepute, and you can see it being banned. Honestly, mate, it's going to come to that, probably in our lifetime as well.
Yeah. Let's hope not, because we ain't got nothing else to talk about on the podcast.
Apart from alcohol. We have to do an alcohol podcast, wouldn't we? Where we're drinking and reviewing drinks and things like
that. Another passing that happened within the month. It was sad to learn the passing of boxing legend Mike McCallum. The body snatcher was a free-weight world champion, having won world titles at super welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight. Some career he had, and the fighters that he'd been in. So he had 49 wins with 36 KOs. He lost 5 and drawn 1. No, he never been stopped. But he'd been in with the likes of, and he had some of the people that he'd beaten. So he'd beaten Harold Graham, Steve Collins, Michael Watson, to name a few, Donald Curry, and then he had a split draw with James Toney, and then James Toney beat him in the rematch a few fights later on. He'd been in with actually 3 times he'd been in with James Toney, and his last 2 fights were in 1997 with James Toney and Roy Jones Jr. in 1996. Lost on unanimous decisions in both of them fights. So a legend really. And another one that's we've said goodbye to in the last month. Yeah, Mike McCallum, R.I.P.
Yeah, some names on that CV there, mate.
Oh, not many.
He was the original body snatcher, wasn't he? The original Jamaican. Like obviously, Dillian White calls himself the body snatcher, but never saw too many of his fights. Obviously, we were very young back then, so we're watching things now, and should have been spoken about more, to be honest. I know we've got a lot of legends living and past, for what they've achieved in the game. But you're racking up there those wins and those titles that he's won. Yeah, definitely the people he was close to, and even hardcore boxing fans than me and you will know more of him. So he'll be missed, and it's sad. Another legend passes away. So R.I.P. to him, and condolences out to his family and friends and loved ones.
Yeah, echoed, mate. I echo that. The California State Athletic Commission have overturned Emmanuel Navarrete's controversial technical decision victory over Charlie Suarez to a no contest. Top-ranked Carl Moretti has also revealed the WBO have already ordered an immediate rematch between the two, something that we'd said. The bout was called off in the 8th round last month due to an accidental head clash resulting in a cut near Navarrete's eyebrow. However, the footage released post-fight appeared to show Suarez's left hand that caused the damage. Now, everything that's happened here, we stated in the episode after the incident, and it's the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do, because if it was the other way around, we'd be calling, they would be screaming blue murder for the champion and all that sort of stuff. So fair is fair, and it's the right thing to do. It wasn't a head clash. Let's run it back, and Navarrete was winning the fight for me, and there's no reason to think that he wouldn't win the rematch. But it needs to be done correctly. It wasn't done correctly here. So.
Yeah, I can't. I 100% agree with what you said there, mate. Again, sanctioned bodies doing something properly. It was turned into a good fight as well, wasn't it? Obviously, Charlie Suarez did literally sniff blood and went for it, tried to roll the dice and tried to get him out of there before it was stopped and called off. Just on that, if that is going to happen, if that is going to be next, hopefully Navarrete can come through with that. And then I want Sugar Nunes. That's the only fight I want to see in that division now. Out of those champions, Nunes versus Navarrete. That's Mexican derby. That's a Mexican war. That's a Mexican trilogy there. That's Moreira Morales Part 4. That's as a boxing fan, that's what I want to see in that division next. I want those two to go at it to unify those belts.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great fight.
That would be absolutely great. Yeah, looking forward to that. That will happen as well.
Has to.
But you called it, mate. And hope sooner the better for me. Now this is another beat. I just can't get my head around this. The WBC have ordered Badou Jack to defend his WBC cruiserweight world title in an immediate rematch against Noel Michelin. You'd mentioned this last week. Jack defeated Michelin by majority decision on the Canelo Skull undercard last month. Listen, the cruiserweight division is shit, and because of this type of thing, Jaya Bataille is suffering. And it's because of stuff like, why is there an immediate rematch for this?
Do you know what? Do you know when we done our review of that Riyadh season card, that Canelo Skull card? Do you know we didn't even speak about that fight?
No.
We didn't even review it. Reason being, because it was rubbish.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was an awful weekend with the Times Square one as well combined.
Yeah.
It was awful. We didn't even review that one. So now we've got to sit back and watch that again. There was no controversy in it. Badou Jack probably done enough to beat him.
Yeah.
I know Don King's involved with Mikalainen and things like that. He's still got his hand in pies. Whether he's half the problem, mate, I can't answer the question. I don't know. I don't know why we're having to see that again. I've got no idea.
I know, and like I say, it's in an already poor division. It's just being held up by shit, and this is the reason why. Like I say, Bob Tiger.
That won't even happen this year. No. Badou Jack and Noel Mikalainen, they don't even fight. They literally fight once a year, if that.
Yeah.
So you'll probably see this in 2026. This is what we were saying. You're right about Jarbatar just waiting around, taking on poor level of opponents, not knowing how good he really is. Yeah. Like, he'll end up fucking up before he can get all 4 belts. Yeah. Because he's just wasting his time.
He is, yeah. And I say, again, the governing bodies are allowing this shit to happen.
And I'm surprised at the WBC, the leeches that they are, the 3% that they are, you'd think they'd be begging to see Jarbatar versus Badou Jack. Surely that brings that 3% brings them more than Noel Mikalainen, unless it's going to be on the Riyadh card season again, which obviously Uncle Turkey throws away. You get paid this, you get paid that. Suleiman is for your WBC belt. You just take your 3% out of that cheddar ching that I've just thrown at you there. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. But personally, we'll watch it, but personally, I don't want to see it.
No.
I think it's an awful fight.
It is. But like I say, Albertai gets put in with Badou Jack. We'll take it because you're unifying.
Yeah.
But it's just keeping it. It's keeping it all together and in house and all sneaky and everything staying in one side and all that. It's just shit for the division in an already poor division. I just can't get up for it at all. I think it's shit.
I think the WBC are becoming a joke. People only like that belt. They associate that belt because of the history behind it, the green and gold. Personally, in 2025, mate, I think it's a joke.
Yeah. Mauricio Suleiman, man, he's just any sort of legacy that belt's held, he's just destroying with some of the decisions that he's making. Most of the decisions he's making. I don't know who he's listening to, but he's definitely not listening to the fans.
No.
But
you're right there.
But this I like this fight, and I'm sure you will as well. O'Shaquie Foster versus Stephen Fulton have struck a deal for the WBC, again, junior lightweight title fight. Fulton, the WBC champion of featherweight, will move up to junior lightweight as he seeks to become a 3-division champion. The fight is expected to land on the same undercard as Davis versus Roach 2. Now, that's a good fight.
It's a great, again, mate, that's a great fight on paper. Will it be? They've got very similar styles, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
Very similar styles. You go, I go, you go, I go. But again, see, this is what I like. This was around that piece, and I remember that bit of news. This was around the time when there was sound bites coming out saying, well, Top Rank and PBC are going to work together going forward, not trying to do as much of Uncle Turkey. Now, obviously, Al Heyman there's got Fulton, champion, but Bob has got O'Shaquie Foster, champion. Put them together, they can work together. That it is. I welcome that fight. That's a main event fight as well for a boxing purist. That's a brilliant fight. I just hope it delivers. By the way, I'm team O'Shaquie Foster. I like Fulton, but I've kind of fallen in love a bit with O'Shaquie Foster the amount of times that we reviewed him on here. I think it's a great fight. I really, really do. And that's a good card as well, Dave. If that's co-main to Roach versus Davis too, I like that. But hopefully it delivers, though. Just like it should do. Best versus the best. But again, styles make fights. Will they gel? Who knows? But O'Shaquie Foster can punch when he's asked. And obviously Stephen Fulton just put on a masterclass against, was it Venezuela?
Yeah.
Last time out. So when he wants to fight, he can fight as well. So hopefully we get the latter. But it's nice to see Top Rank and PBC working together as well. Rather than PBC just keeping everything in the house, you know.
They've got to, mate, now with Turkey coming along and taking over. They've got to do something different. But yeah, no, you're right. It could go one of either way. The only thing we've always questioned Stephen Fulton is punch power, where we don't have that issue with Foster, and the fact that Fulton's moving up another weight to do it. Could that be the difference there? Could it be a step too far? Boxing skills wise, they both got boxing skills in abundance. Stephen Fulton has, and O'Shaquie Foster has. So again, you're right. It could be a chess match, but if you're edging the size and the sort of power, you're edging towards Foster. Jackie Foster. But
I think it'd be massive as well. If I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like when we close your eyes, and I think he's going to be huge all over the place, as in terms of his frame, his reach, his height, his weights. Oshaki over Fulton, because again, you said Fulton's moving up again, so
it might be a step too far, but it's intriguing either way. But again, on paper, it's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Moses Atuma will fight Dillian Whyte on August 16th in Riyadh. Like I say, in the news I've got here, it was talked about, so we now know that it is happening. What's your thoughts on that? Timing's everything. I think it's good timing for Moses Atuma. We've asked for the step up. Name value, it is a step up. The last few fights, Dillian Whyte hasn't looked great, so it's looking like timing is key for the step up. And what do you make of Dillian Whyte really in this? Does Dillian Whyte now an opponent for prospects, or is Dillian Whyte thinking, listen, if I beat Atuma, I'm back in the mix because he's everyone's talking about him. What do you think? We obviously know what the reasons behind Atuma going in here. What do you think the reasons are? I know money's one of them as well, but what do you think? Do you think it's purely based on money with Dillian Whyte in here, or do you think he's in here to has he got the desire to upset the apple cart, as we call it, because he's the name on everyone's lips at the minute, and if he takes this scalp, does it put him back in the mix, Dillian Whyte? So, what are your thoughts?
I think this is it, mate. Honestly, you mentioned there his last couple of fights. The last couple of fights you saw him as Ebenezer Tete, which was a bore fest. Both, big lumps, sluggish, just done enough to get the stoppage in the end. And then we see Fraser Clark going with Tete and stop him in the round. That shows you where Dillian Whyte is now. He's been inactive, again, failed drug tests and all that kind of thing. We saw him against Tyson Fury. The level was chalk and cheese. He's not a world level operator anymore. I used to think he was when he was on that journey to become an interim champion. I thought he was one of the top contenders. I kind of changed my mind. Obviously, the age he is now, he's taken a lot. Let's be honest, he's put his hand up and he's getting paid a lot of money here. He's getting paid a lot of money here because I think most of the team is too quick, too young, too fresh. He stopped Dillian Whyte for me. I think a lot of people already, the sound bites coming out that this is a good step up for Moses. It doesn't go the distance, but where Dillian Whyte is now in his career, he's kind of half washed from what we've seen lately. And he's taken a big paycheck for this to get into the ring with Moses Atuma, because Moses Atuma will have the night of his life. He'll smash him up. And then obviously we're speaking about someone that was an interim champ, went in with Fury, went in with AJ, etc. He'll be going in for the winner of Usyk versus Dubois. That's the rhetoric. That's how it's going. He's taking this purely for money, mate. And if he does lose, which I expect him to, I don't think we'll see him anymore. If he does win, then maybe we'll start talking about him going in with the contenders again and trying to get himself, because he has got name and commercial value, to go in for a world title shot. But I don't believe he's world level anymore, Dillian Whyte. Whether he was or wasn't, that's a debate for another day. But yeah, I feel it's purely money, mate. I think he could be on his biggest paycheck ever, because no one else is putting their hands up to fight Moses Atuma. No one else.
Do you think he'll give Atuma rounds?
I hope so, Dave. Yeah. I hope so. But what we saw against Tete, does he?
I don't know. The thing is, you know what? Atuma comes straight out the gate, bang, try and take him early, take him while he's cold. But it'd be good. It'd be good if he does give him rounds. He needs rounds, Atuma.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he does need rounds. Again, you don't get paid for overtime. So if he takes him out in a couple of rounds, there's nothing on the Atuma. It's just the other guy in front of him is not good enough to give him rounds. And he'll be looking for that money shot. Where'd you land the money shot on Dillian Whyte? That fucking uppercut right in the chin.
Yeah.
Fury, Povetkin, AJ, all the same shot. Yeah. I can't see it going past 5. And even if he gets 5 rounds out of him, Dave, it's a good 5 rounds for Moses Atuma. But just going off this kind of recency biased, or what have you done for me lately? I can't see Dillian Whyte living with him. I really can't.
I can see the press conference being more exciting for Dillian Whyte than the fight.
Yeah.
Because he will try and rile him up. He will. He'll do all that sort of stuff. There'll be no respect there. He'll try and get into his head, call him a young pup and all that sort of stuff. And I think he will. And I think the press conference maybe more of a highlight for Dillian Whyte than the actual fight.
And the old wolf call he does, that wolf thing he does when he comes out. That's all he done against Fury, wasn't it? Literally, that's all he couldn't land the glove on him. I know Fury and Moses are 2 different fighters, but like you just said, the only thing that will be impressive of Dillian will be the press conference, plus the old up on that,
and the AC/DC song coming out. That's pretty decent.
So
listen, we've asked for a step up. I would call this a step up. Name value for definitely commercial value, 100%. You're talking about the guys that Atuma's been in with, so. We finally got it, so we'll see where he goes.
Hey, and that is why Dillian Whyte was pulled out the other week against TBA.
Yeah,
because he was supposed to fight, wasn't he? Was it the last Queensberry card? He was supposed to be on that one, isn't he? Oh no, Justice Uni and Fabio Wardley. He was supposed to be on there against TBA.
Yeah.
Then he was pulled out, and then it kind of got announced that he was fighting against Moses Atuma. I'll tell you, I'll be interested to see his purse for this, mate.
Yeah,
because you can. Everyone said, "Oh, Frank's gonna have to. He's paid. Oh, he's paid." Dillian White ain't taking this on no fucking, 6-figure sum. He's getting a lot of money for this because there's a lot of. If he gets embarrassed and it's smashed to bits, which most people are expecting him to, it's going to be for a lot of money. Honestly, even for his reputation alone,
Yeah. We touched on this earlier on, but there's a bit of news on it. We'll just announce it anyway. The IBF have now officially confirmed that Raymond Muratella has been upgraded to the full IBF champion following Vasily Lomachenko's retirement. Andy Cruz, who obviously just got the win against Machina, is in the final limit to determine Muratella's mandatory. So we spoke about in the lead up to Andy Cruz's fight just previously in this podcast. But yeah, Muratella is now the full world champion because the legend that is Lomachenko has now retired. So yeah, I thought it's something we would have spoke about prior to the fight on Saturday. But yeah, Andy Cruz now is the mandatory challenger. So yeah, we look forward to that fight. But yeah, that's something we would have had to have spoken about.
I'm not a fan of upgrading, and I've got to keep the same energy I did for Daniel Dubois. He didn't beat Usyk in the ring, so in my opinion, Usyk's still the champion. You have to lose that belt in the ring. So when Dubois beat AJ, it was kind of more like a vacant title, and that's the way I'll treat this as well. Yes, Muratella will come in as champion, but you didn't beat Loma in the ring to win it. Not his fault. That's just how they do that's how they work things. So when that belt is on the line, it will be vacant. For me, it'll be number 1 contender versus number 2 contender. And again, like you say, let's hope they can get it on. It'll probably end up going to purse bids and things like that. Don't care if Matchroom put it on or Top Rank. No one gives a shit as long as the boxing fans get to see that fight because it's the best versus the best in that division, isn't it? So. Or the best, the champion, if you like, against the number 1 contender. So, if Eddie Hearn backs his man and thinks Andy Cruz is his best fighter in his stable or a future world champion, then go out there and back him. Win the purse bids if it goes to purse bids. Put the show on in America, you bring him to these shores, or where it'll be in America clearly because they're both based out there. But yeah, back your man, win the purse bids. And same with Bob Arum as well. Same with Top Rank.
Yeah.
Because Muratella's turned into a really class operator as well. So, it's just a great fight. It's a really good fight.
Yeah, definitely. And then talking of another great fight, it's now officially announced. Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford for the Ring, WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO, Super Middleweight, Netflix, September 13th in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. And it's being called The One. So that's it now. They've done a face-off since. It's on. It's definitely happening. I've never been a massive favourite of the fight leading up to this. I always thought that, jumping up 2 weights, it's too small. But Terence Crawford is a big guy.
Are you warming to it? Are you warming to the fight now?
Now that I've seen this come up, I'm starting to get onto it. I never really was a fan of it before. I always thought the weight was just too much. It may end up being that, but I wasn't a fan of that. But look, now I've seen the poster, and I'm starting to get a little bit excited for it. I've got to admit.
And it's on Netflix, so it's not pay-per-view.
Yeah,
it's part of your subscription. Anyone's got Netflix, the biggest streaming service in the world, so all lives will be on that, and it's a proper fight, unlike Jake Paul and Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Plus, going off the way Canelo fights now he plods. The output's gone. If you go back to that William Skull fight, I'm gonna make it sound really boring for people listening. If you go back to that Skull fight, and all Skull did was move, frustrated the life out of Canelo. Yes, Canelo won the fight because there was more output. End of the day, Skull didn't use any output. He just moved and done lateral movement, feints, and just ran around the ring. Terence Crawford does that, but has output. He'll beat Canelo easy. I know people will probably scream, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about." Because Canelo, the output's dropped from him. He plods now. He's like Dave said, he's flat-footed now. He doesn't seem to roll the dice at any stage. There's no kind of quickness or urgency from him at all. It's like kind of like not premeditate. What's the word I'm looking for? When he kind of just walks you down and hopes to stop you. But when he does throw, he is accurate and he does hurt you. Yeah. But Terence Crawford's elite. Yeah. So he's got the ring IQ, he's got the generalship. He'll know how to navigate his way around the ring. He'll know how to keep out the way of Canelo. He's putting on the weight gradually, sensibly. Mate, I'm team Crawford for this. But just going back to what I said there about the William Skull fight, William Skull kept out the way all night, but there was no output. There'll be output from Terence Crawford. I don't expect Crawford to fight like that, but the way Canelo fights now, he's very easy to point score against.
Yeah,
he's just doing it, isn't it? But I hope I don't want to see that type of fight. I'd love to see a war, but Crawford's too savvy. He's not going to get into a war with Canelo.
No, he's not. No.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, mate. And then, like I say, we'll review the fuck out of that fight when it comes that week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it now.
Yeah,
Crawford only fights once a year now, mate. So he's literally hanging to the leg. I wouldn't be surprised if he calls it today now after this, because he's only fights once a year. He's not the most active of fighters. He's got businesses that he's making money outside of boxing. He's quite an astute businessman as well. So I think he knows what he's doing. I think he knows what he's doing. I think it could be the right time to take Canelo, not stop him. I can't see him stopping him at all, but actually, a bit of a bivvle on him, if you like.
Yeah. I was getting bivvle vibes. Yeah. And this is the last piece for today. And you've got receipts for this, and so I wanted to bring it up because fair play to you. You mentioned it. The WBO have now officially ordered Sam Noakes versus Abdullah Mason for the vacant WBO lightweight world title. The two sides have 20 days to agree a deal before the bout heads to purse bids. So we had Liam on last week, and you mentioned this fight, and Liam just said, listen, Abdullah Mason, I'll walk through him. They didn't really give him much of a chance, but you was the one that mentioned, mate. You got receipts for it. You called this, and someone must have been listening, mate. Hopefully, because it was called literally a day later.
It was I think it was literally the next day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's the only right thing to do. Again, I do slag the sanctioning bodies off, and I stand by what I say. I think they're all a pile of shit. They're all leeches. They're all trying to make money. They're businesses. There's no meritocracy. I don't want to keep going into that. But when you look at the ranking system, now Keyshawn's been stripped 1 versus 2. That's how it should be. Sam Noakes has worked his way to get to number 2. Abdullah Mason's worked his way up to get to number 1. They pay sanctioning fees. They're in ranking events. They're in that position. There's a vacant belt. All's at the fight. And that's exactly what they've done. That's how, if every sanctioning body done that, Dave, there'd be no problem.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any moaning at all. We'd probably only moan about there'd be four belts rather than just the 1. But the way they do things, that is the correct way of doing it. So now whoever wins that fight, just say, for instance, Abdullah Mason wins that fight, Sam Noakes then goes down the pecking order. You have another eliminator to make the next number 1 contender, and then they will fight against Abdullah Mason, who's the champion. Yeah. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Stop confusing everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Great fight, though. I think Sam Noakes will have his moments. I do, but I do agree with Liam. I think Abdullah Mason, and you've said it yourself, he's not just a special prospect in American boxing. He's a special prospect in world boxing. He goes into the same bracket as Moses and Suma and another kind of, elite level fighters coming through the ranks. He is very special. But I think it'd be a good fight, mate. I do think it'd be a good fight, and I hope it gets made. I hope Abdullah Mason doesn't end up getting someone that's ranked number 14 because Frank's not ready to put Sam Noakes in yet. Well, whatever reason, do it now. No more semi-finals, no more eliminators. Make the fight now. Let's see how good both fighters really are. Yeah. So I do, mate. I think Sam Noakes will have his moments, but I'm not sure that
it'll be Abdullah Mason's toughest fight. That's for sure, regardless of how long it will be. Yeah. I'm up for that fight, and I think most people are. So hopefully we'll have an announcement. And I don't want to hear, like, you're right. I don't want it just fizzles out and then you don't hear anything. And then he ends up, because Abdullah Mason will fight for that title regardless. But and it ends up being someone you just think, So no, hopefully it gets made, mate. And I wanted to bring it up because you got the receipts for it. And that is it for David McDonald and the Dons.
Thank you, kind sir. Right, 1 hour 47 minutes. That's a bit of viewing or audio listening for somebody on their way to work, whether coming home from work or going to work. We needed to get that news done. We haven't done any for weeks, but now we're back on track. Hopefully, nothing else gets in the way going forward. Hopefully, StreamYard, it's carried on working today, so they've fixed their problems. But mate. Plans for the rest of the day? What you up to on your day off, mate?
I'm going to do a dump run in a minute. 12:30 I'm booked in for, so I've got 40 minutes. I've got to go to the dump.
So Dave's going for a shit, everybody. I'm
going to do that first, then go to the dump. But just going to chill for the rest of the day, mate. What you up to? You going to the pub?
Oh no, I don't need to today because we've done the podcast this morning, so I don't need to go to I don't need an excuse to go to the pub anyway to do my notes. But I'm going to check to see if her upstairs is still a dying duck. The sun's out in the West Midlands. What's it down like your one? I might go for a nice walk, and I'm
going to go and walk the dogs and that as well. Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, enjoy the weather while it's like this in the UK. I was speaking to one of the dads up the school. Just briefly, and I said last year was the only year since I've had the kids that I never had the swimming pool out. Yeah, because the weather was that bad in August. We had one good week where we went to Torquay for the brothers, and obviously was on the beach and things like that. But the rest of the 5 weeks, it was wind, rain, bit of sun, wind, rain, bit of sun. Just enjoy the UK weather while it's like this, man. I absolutely love it. So yeah, right, I'm going to go away now. I'm going to upload this, get this on all the podcast platforms, and enjoy the rest of me afternoon and me night time. I'll have a couple of beers tonight and get my leg over. I hope, depends what state she's in. But
you got no.
I know, no chance. 2 hopes, Bob hope and no hope. So yeah. Anything else to add, brother? We will be up Wednesday, as I said.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Brian Jr. Yep, he's fighting on Thursday, so we need to review that one, preview that one, and get our predictions out going forward. Galal Yafai, and I think there's a couple of others on the undercard. I think Conor Walker's defending his British title for the first time since he beat Harry Scarf. He's always in exciting fights.
Yeah.
So yeah, it won't be 2 hours on Wednesday, guys. Dave will have a bit of news. There's the winners' weekly wager as well. A few previews. So I'm going to wrap it up now. That's the end of podcast episode 128. Like, share, and subscribe, as I said at the beginning. And yeah, we'll be back on Wednesday night. Take care, everybody. Have a good week. And I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Dave, enjoy your shit, mate, and your tip run. And I'll see you
later,
on Wednesday,
mate. Hello, mate. Bye-bye.